All right, I think I'm going to just get started here. All right, so thank you for joining us for this free online presentation of exploring the Galapagos Islands. I was lucky enough to get to go in 2019, where I was invited by Holbrook Travel, which is a travel organization that helps photographers like myself lead photo tours all over the world, particularly focusing on ecotourism and amazing wildlife experiences for people. A little bit about who I am. So I'm Jennifer Lee Warner, founder of Experience Wildlife. I'm a full-time professional wildlife photographer, and I've been doing this for about 15 years. I'm also the chair of the ethics committee for the North American Nature Photographers Association. And I lead photo tours all over the world as well as online. So a little bit about the Galapagos before I get started on my journey. So situated in the Pacific Ocean, it is about 1,000 kilometers from the South American continent, and it contains about 19 islands and the surrounding marine area. And it's considered a unique living museum and showcases evolution. Located at the confluence of 3 different ocean currents, the Galapagos is considered a melting pot of marine species. Its ongoing seismic and volcanic activity reflects the process that formed the islands. These processes, together with the extreme isolation of the islands, led to the development of the unusual animal life there, such as the land iguana and giant tortoises, and many of the types of finches that Charles Darwin used to create his theory of evolution. So the Galapagos Islands, which is part of Ecuador, was considered a wildlife sanctuary in 1935. And in 1959, the sanctuary became the Galapagos National Park. So the whole chain of islands is considered a national park. In 1978, the islands were designated a World Heritage Site. And in 1986, the Galapagos Marine Resource Reserve was created to protect the surrounding waters. So this whole entire chain is protected by the country of Ecuador, the World Heritage Site, and all of the marine area is also protected, which is what's wonderful about this area, is the focus on conservation for the unique species that live there. So like I said, in 2019, I was invited by Holbrook Travel to go explore the Galapagos Islands with a group of individuals who tend to lead tours, whether they are working at aquariums and zoos, universities, or wildlife-centric organizations such as Birdwatchers Digest, a few other people, and some people from Holbrook Travel. We all got to go together and spend a few days exploring the Galapagos Islands. So I'm going to share a little bit about what I experienced on that trip, what makes this place so special. So this is actually just a screenshot from the back of my plane as I traveled from New York City to the city of Guayaquil, which is where we started our journey here in Ecuador. This is the group I traveled with, like I said, a variety of individuals from universities, aquariums, some with Holbrook Travel, and other organizations like that. So the first stop in Guayaquil was to visit a plantation that makes chocolate. Now, Ecuador has what most would consider the best chocolate in the entire world. And we were fortunate enough to get to see how they make that chocolate. So this is the plantation that we started at, and we got to see the entire process, from the seeds that make the cocoa to how they dry it and then turn it into something delicious. So I got to taste some of that chocolate as well. So if you are in Ecuador, definitely on your way to the Galapagos, you got to have some Ecuadorian chocolate. The city of Guayaquil is also very beautiful, has gorgeous buildings and beautiful flowers, lots of different species of orchid that you're going to find there, as well as the city itself has wildlife. So this is an iguana that I found in the city, and you can see they're not afraid of humans. You can get pretty close and get some nice up close pictures of the iguanas there in the city. But in order to get to the Galapagos, you do have to fly to the islands. So we did take a flight over to the Galapagos on our second day of our trip. And this is me entering the Galapagos. So during our journey, we came and went from the second largest island in the Galapagos, which is called Santa Cruz Island. And it's an area that when I lead tours, this is where I call my home base. So this is a nice central location to visit majority of the islands that you're going to find in the Galapagos. Because there's so much ecotourism happening in the Galapagos Islands, there's lots of beautiful lodges that are in these lush environments, many of which actually have a lot of the wildlife that you're going to the Galapagos to see right on the property, including the giant tortoises. Many of these lodges will take in the giant tortoises as giving them an area to live wild and free and have somewhere safe to be on their property. The lodge that I stayed in here also had these very unique living quarters that was kind of like a tent. So you have nice privacy while you're out on your journey. So an interesting fact, the Galapagos is only second to the Great Barrier Reef as far as the size of marine protected area. So about 80,780 miles worth of protected marine area in the Galapagos Islands. So being on the land area of Santa Cruz and the other mainlands like that, you can still visit a lot of the marine protected area. This was straight off where our lodge was. These beautiful turquoise waters, blue skies, very clear water. This is one of the employees of Holbrook Travel, Chris, and we're showing you here, this is just straight from where our lodge was, these volcanic islands that we can explore and hike around. Most of the islands and areas are relatively easy, small hikes on these trails within this volcanic area. This area right here, which is just from that last picture, you're going to see this where the turquoise water meets this volcanic land, and this is where you're going to start seeing white-tipped reef sharks. They are nocturnal, so during the day they're just sleeping, and you can see here all of the different sharks that are sleeping in this shallow water just off of the boardwalk. A little close-up picture of these sharks. They are reef sharks, so they don't hurt you, so you can go swimming in there. And we did. You're going to spend a lot of time if you're in the Galapagos Islands, getting to snorkel, swim, spend some time in that nice warm water. And in that water, you're going to see lots of different species like green sea turtles. This is just from snorkeling. So you can see the water isn't so deep. It allows you to actually photograph some of the animals that are down at the bottom. And penguins. This is the only penguin that lives on the north of the equator. And that's the Galapagos penguin, endemic to the islands. And we are just right there off of the coast. And then the aquatic iguana, a very unique endemic species as well, that not only goes on the land, but also swims in the water. Like I said, there's lots of places to hike on the islands. If you're going to the Galapagos, you're going to spend a little time hiking. They're not strenuous hikes by any means, but it's always good to be able to walk. And you're going to see a lot of these animals like the aquatic iguana while you are hiking around the islands. This is one of the Darwin Finches. So there are several different species of the Darwin Finch. They are all over the islands, and this is a highlight for most people coming to the islands to see. Now, just as Charles Darwin was finding out for his theory of evolution, that the Darwin Finches are different looking. So this is a Darwin Finch, and this is a Darwin Finch as well. You can see that the way they look, the way their beaks are shaped. This is what he was studying to prove that the different types of food available was shaping the way the bird looked. And this is really neat to be able to actually see this when you are traveling to the Galapagos. Another amazing thing to see is these Sally Lightfoot crabs. They're very large red crabs all over the areas that are near the water, which is anywhere you're hiking. You're also going to see some familiar birds, such as the great blue heron. We have them all over the United States, and they are there as well. So some familiar faces as well as the unique ones. Another picture of the aquatic iguana. Again, you're going to see lots of these all over the islands, both on land, clinging to the rocks as the water is splashing up on the shore. And look at those feet, look at those claws. In addition to the fun wildlife, it's always fun to spend some time at night enjoying the island life, getting a nice drink from a coconut. And of course, enjoying the sunsets. So these white sand beaches that the Galapagos offers, great for landscape photography or just enjoying a nice evening. Now there are 21 volcanoes on the Galapagos Islands, 13 that are considered active. This is what shapes the islands and what makes the land so unique and rich. So when you're in the Galapagos, you want to spend some time looking at some of these volcanoes, seeing what makes this land so unique. Other birds you're going to see as well, these yellow warblers, some of these unique birds you're not going to see anywhere else. Now in Santa Cruz, you also have the Charles Darwin Research Center, which is a breeding facility for the endangered tortoise, giant tortoise. This is an area that is really interesting to see how they're helping preserve these species that are, I mean, hundreds, some of them are, 150 years old. These are tortoises that have seen the changes of the islands over time by individuals, not just the species. And you can get an opportunity to see the work that's being done on this center, including these very young ones that are being labeled so that they can identify who is who. Now, I did say the lodges do have these tortoises that are wandering around the property. This is one of the properties that we visited. And as you can see, the tortoise is not bothered by people coming by, as long as you give them a little bit of space, and allows you to get some of those fun pictures as well. There are no natural predators on the Galapagos Islands, so the wildlife are not afraid of people. And that is another thing that makes the Galapagos Islands such an amazing place to visit. And here's a nice up close picture. You can see it's a little rainy in the foreground there. Nothing too extreme, but giving it a little bit of environment there. Now, when you go from island to island, of course, you need to take a boat. And this is a great opportunity to be able to photograph some of the animals that are in the water, as well as the birds that are flying overhead, like this frigate bird. This is a really interesting bird that has this, the males have this red pouch that inflames when they are in breeding plumage. Now, when I was there, we did spend about half the trip or a little bit more on this yacht. And this is where we stayed during the night and then traveled to the different islands during the day. It's pretty common. And the different islands are all unique to themselves. These white sand beaches. You get islands that have these crazy trees. You can see this land iguana here in the foreground and that red foliage in the back. These trees that are cactus coming out of them. This is also a great food source for those iguanas, is that cactus. The other things you're going to see is like the Galapagos Fur Seal. This is an endemic species. And what's interesting about this is even though it's considered a seal, it's actually a sea lion. One of the main differences between seals and sea lions is those external ear flaps. And you can see here, those external ear flaps are visible. So, but it's considered a fur seal. They have flamingos, a different type of bird than you're probably used to, depending on where you live. This is a very similar species to the American flamingo that you would see in, say, the Bahamas or Aruba. The blue-footed booby, this is probably one of the most common animals people are expecting to see when they are visiting the Galapagos Islands, and you can see those blue feet that are right there on the bottom. There are other types of boobies as well, including the Nazca boobie and the red-footed boobie. They have nests on the ground, and you can see this chick with this adult. This is also a chick of a tropic bird. They nest in these caverns and these little crevices in the rocks. So you get an opportunity as you're hiking around the islands to see some of these birds. This is the adult version of that chick. They're extremely fast. So when you're photographing this type of bird, you're going to want a really fast shutter speed in order to capture that frozen in flight. So that land iguana with that red foliage I was talking about, you can see all the spikes on his neck. And you're going to see these on different islands than you would see the aquatic iguanas, the different environments. Bird that's relatively common to any of our coastal areas is the brown pelican. And you also have this brown noddy that's chasing him. This is a behavior that's called kleptomorphism, where he is actually trying to steal the food from the pelican when he gets it, and they tend to stand on their head in order to steal the food out of their mouths. This is a Galapagos hawk, one of the most endangered hawk species in the world. There's only about 300 of them left, and you can see several of them sitting on this beach. There's a pup that they had killed and are eating the carcass out of it. And this alpha was eating it while the others were waiting for their turn, and another one decided to challenge the alpha for that meal. So exciting, exciting photography that you're going to be experiencing while you are visiting these islands. And of course, these babies, so cute. The Galapagos sea lion, related to the California sea lion. It just happens to be a subspecies. And you get an opportunity to see the pups, also bulls and the females, all kind of in the same area. And again, they don't have any natural predators, so they're not afraid of people. Now, this is a unique species that is very unusual to see. This is actually a hybrid between an aquatic iguana and a land iguana. Very rare to see that, but we did get the opportunity to see one while we were there. You can see kind of the morph of the two of them, kind of hard to tell whether it's one or the other, and it's because it is both. Now, like I said, towards the beginning of this presentation, there's clear water, which allows for, and it's warm, so it allows you for great opportunity for underwater photography. That's something that you're interested in. And we did get a lot of opportunities to go snorkeling while we were there. There's lots of different species of fish, and the water is relatively shallow, so it allows you to get the sunlight that would be coming down into the water in order to get underwater pictures. Like I said, different types of fish, as well as those sea lions underwater. If you're lucky, you can also get the aquatic iguana, stingrays, sharks, other things that are in the water as well. But the sea lions are extremely curious, and they will come right up to you in the water here. And of course, the sunsets. You can't beat the beautiful sunsets with the volcanic rocks, the crabs there as the sun is going down. So there are some specifics to getting to the Galapagos that is unique to other national parks. Now, in order to enter the Galapagos Islands, you do need to prove that you have a round trip ticket. They don't let anyone just stay there unless you have special permission. You have to show that you have either a hotel reservation or a cruise reservation. Your passport has to have at least 6 months worth of a remaining time to the expiration date on there. And there are specific travel and health insurances that you do need to have. A few other things for the national park. You have to stay on the designated trails. You are not to disturb the animals. And that, I think, is a misconception of the animals are not afraid of people, but you still do need to stay at least 6 feet away from the animals whenever possible. So you do want to have a little bit of a longer lens, nothing too crazy. A 200 millimeter should be fine. If you want to get the smaller birds, 500 millimeters. It's important that you're not transporting anything in or out of the islands as well, because they do want to make sure that there's no cross contamination. So you're not carrying any food, no produce, anything like that. You have to be very careful with campfires, things like that. They don't want any damage to the area. And you just got to be careful you're not buying any goods that are native to the Galapagos species, no tortoise shells or things like that. So those are all rules that they are very specific about in the Galapagos Islands, and they do checks like that at the airport in and out. So the good news is when you are traveling, you should go with a group. That's my recommendation, so that you can meet all those requirements and not have to worry about, making sure you have the hotel reservations or cruise or whatever. And so I am leading a tour. It is on May 12th through the 19th. And one of the great things about going on a photo tour with somebody who's been there, get an idea of what to look for, what to expect, and spend some time out in the field at night, at the lodges at night, and going over the pictures that you might be taking during the tour. So this is a great opportunity to have an experienced leader, and then partnering with the same people who took me Holbrook Travel. So you get an experienced guide who is bilingual, so they speak English, and get all that opportunity. So like I said, we leave on May 12th. And unlike the tour I took, we're actually flying into Quito, which is the capital. And what's great about Quito is it is right up against the cloud forest. So we would spend an entire day in Quito exploring the Ecuadorian cloud forest and all of the amazing species of birds and orchids that are there. There are other animals like ocelot that live in the park. If you're very, very lucky, you might get to see something like that. And then we stay in Santa Cruz when we go to the Galapagos. So one of the things that I didn't like was I get seasick. So spending all that time at night on the yacht wasn't great on my stomach. So if that's something that you are like, great thing is we stay on land in Santa Cruz Island at this incredible lodge. It is called the Galapagos Safari Camp, and it has gourmet food at night. You get to have a little cocktail and sit there and look over pictures with everybody. And then during the day, we travel by boat to the different islands, short trips, no more than about an hour and a half on some shorter than that, and do a little bit of hiking in the different islands. So you're going to see things like the blue-footed boobies and the giant tortoises, the Darwin finches, the sea lions, the seals, all those different things. Each day a different experience, as well as getting in the water like I did. So I did put this brochure in the course material so you can see it. We do end the trip back in Guayaquil. So we start in Quito and we end in Guayaquil. So you get an opportunity to see a little bit of that place as well. And then you would depart on the 19th via the Guayaquil International Airport. Like I said, I am the leader of this trip. We do have a guide as well. So you get somebody who lives there locally to take us around. And everything is included except for the international travel to and from Ecuador, but it does include the travel to the Galapagos Islands. All food, lodging, transportation, my photo assistance, all of it is included for just $6,355 per person. And then if you do need help with booking a flight to and from Quito and Guayaquil, we can help you with that as well. So our deposits are due, I believe it's December 13th is our deadline. So you can put in just a small deposit before making the full commitment, and get to see some of these beautiful animals that I shared with you today. So couple things before we head out. You are within Experience Wildlife Workshop Series community, this free community that provides these online workshops. They are recorded for your convenience, so you are able to see other workshops that you may have missed. If you pop into those, you can watch the recording. There's also course materials in there. And for any of my photo tours, I do have separate pages for you to look at all the details in there. Feel free to network with one another. There's lots of photographers. I believe we're about 80 people in here now. So you can network with other people within the community. And if you invite others in, you do earn some free rewards. So check that out. And if you're ever interested in teaching photography workshops or on topics, feel free to reach out and let me know, because I do pay people to teach as well. All right. So thank you for joining this free presentation. Hopefully you are inspired to come and join us in the Galapagos. I do have another workshop, the 5 Secrets to Finding Wildlife, on December 8th. So check that out as well. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, either my email at jennifer@experiencewildlife.com or on social media. So thank you again for coming today. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.